When European settlers arrived in this part of the United States around the 1700s, it was forested, as it is still today for the most part. The forest they came to lay eyes upon had come into existence some 6,000 years ago in this part of the country, a while after the ending of the last ice age, which was twice that age back in time. There were already people living in this forest that the European settlers came upon, the Native Americans. They gathered plants and berries and hunted the local wildlife to subsist upon, but they hadn't radically changed this environment as did the European settlers did within the next 200 years or so. The forest was cleared, making farmland for domesticated animals, and the settlers marked their boundaries of the land with the gathering of the rocks littered everywhere left over from the last ice age and the making of stone walls. From there, the domesticated animals ate the grass in the fields, keeping it clear and thereby encouraging the growth of plants such as clover, dandelions, and goldenrod, plants that you would commonly come across while walking in a field. The rivers were not left immune to this radical change either. Trees were cut down and floated downriver to be cut into boards for various construction projects.
Within these cities, there seems to be a total disconnect with the natural world, but not totally so. We've domesticated some animals over the centuries so as not to entirely be alone and away from other animal species.
For example, we have domesticated cats, turning them into pets, the earliest evidence dating as far back as 9,500 years ago on the island of Cyprus in the Mediterranean. And another example, our domestication of dogs, going back in time even further. A fossil find of a domesticated dog dated at 33,000 years ago.
The same techniques of domestication have been applied by humans to plants that feed us as well. Plant species that come from all over the globe. And here are a few of such examples here on this table I have before me. There is rice, originally coming from Southeast Asia and parts of Africa. Corn was being grown by Native Americans in the regions of central Mexico, cultivated and grown from wild grasses over 7,000 years ago. The potato, first domesticated by the Incas in the Andes Mountains regions of South America. And carrots, originating from Afghanistan, domesticated in the 7th century. And peas, domesticated in Italy in the 16th century. Besides the examples of domesticated plants shown here that have come to benefit man, there are non-domesticated plants that are not usually found in our gardens but can be found all over our towns and cities when given the right situations in which to grow and reproduce.
Here, some plants almost growing underneath some wooden steps, a good a place as any as long as your roots can gain a foothold. Also, between a brick wall and asphalt pavement, a plant has taken root. Again, if the situation can provide, then it can happen. This plant is known as lamb's ear. It is native to Turkey, Armenia, and Iran. Escaping from ornamental gardens, it is widespread throughout the New England area of the United States, as shown here growing out of a seam of a concrete sidewalk. More primitive plants have no problem at all growing and reproducing in between the cracks or holes of man-made materials, as seen here with this moss that has grown out of the weathered cracks of this asphalt. And here in between the seams of inlayered bricks, forming a pattern, giving the bricks' edges a beautiful green. Besides plants that have the ability to gain a foothold within a man-made environment, mushroom species have the ability to do so as well. Just another ordinary day of parking your car as usual in a parking space and never noticing what is growing in the vicinity unless you care to keep an eye out and look closer at the environment around you. Such as this fungal species of puffball, which is also one of the edible species of fungi. Here, where its spores have found a small patch of dirt from which to grow in the margins between a brick sidewalk and the wall of a building. Another fungal species that has a symbiotic relationship with algae growing in its tissues grows much more prolific on just about any hard surface, man-made or natural. For example, this stone wall. They are known as the lichens. The fungal part of the organism provides minerals from the surface that it is attached to, and the algal part provides photosynthesis, turning the atmospheric carbon dioxide into organic carbon sugars that feeds both symbionts. Lichens are sensitive to pollutants in the air and are a good indicator to scientists in studying the environmental effects of air pollution. A patch of them can be seen here on this boulder. And on a man-made surface such as gravestones, lichens have no problem growing on them either. These bright yellow patch of lichens, scientific name Xanthoria peritina, show their beautiful color, even more so on this white marbled gravestone. When it comes to vine species, they are very adept at growing on man-made surfaces and use those surfaces to spread their growth, as seen here in a good part of this office building. And here, in this small alleyway, and here, the vines have covered almost the entire surface of this house. Vines use rocks, other plants, or other supports, man-made or natural, to perpetuate their growth rather than putting their energy in a lot of tissue for support, thus enabling the plant to gather sunlight with the least investment of energy. And for the final segment on this program on the subject of vines, we filmed some growing on this highway overpass support wall, rather quickly we might add, being that it was on a busy freeway. Where plants tend to grow a bit too much out of human control for our liking, we systematically keep plants in check within our artificial environment by cutting them back or removing them altogether, if and when they cease to aesthetically please us. A never-ending attempt at control and containment. Besides plants, many species of birds have adapted and thrived within man's artificial world as well. This species of American herring gull waits patiently for any type of food source from humans in this parking lot. The same species of gull has perched itself on top of a streetlight, making an excellent observation post to spot any potential meal that should become available. Occurring in a wide range of habitats, including lakes, rivers, and along the coast, and in garbage dumps, its diet includes fish, invertebrates, and just about anything it finds appetizing that it can swallow. Usually nesting near water, it lays up to 3 eggs on the ground. Young gulls take 4 years to reach their adult plumage. During that time, they go through several stages in their plumage and can vary in their appearance. Ravens as well as gulls have adapted quite well when it comes to dealing with humans in the human-made environment. This one has no problem with vehicles passing by while it searches for insects or an animal carcass on the edge of a paved road. This one searches for scraps of anything edible at a gas station. The name raven is the common name given in Europe and North America to this large black bird of the Corvus genus of birds. With large beaks for feeding, they are omnivorous and look similar to the crow, which they are related to. In an excellent example of an animal adapting to human change and making use of what humans have unknowingly made available to it, this turkey has decided to use this telephone pole as a nighttime perch in which to sleep on. A risky decision on the turkey's part.